the more interesting and innovative ways of using NFTs to create next generation entertainment companies.
Well, I think it can fit into virtually every aspect of entertainment. From we've seen a lot of companies using NFTs as sort of an admission ticket to very exclusive content with celebrities and sports stars. We're also seeing NFTs as a way to raise funds for content. I think Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher had a very famous run around with that. It's a show about cats that are high on pot, but I can't remember what the name of the show is. But they've raised a lot of money to develop the content using NFTs, and I think it's being used to solicit creative input from fans, and it's really just all over the entertainment spectrum.
Yeah, I'm really excited for the space in general. Um, I know that there's lots of different entertainment companies that are specifically trying to utilize this. Anything from, if you follow AMC, they just did a Spider-Man No Way Home drop, which was basically for the movie ticket, which immediately sold out. It was announced on the Twitter page of the CEO, Adam, and basically from there quickly sold out. So AMC has their first NFT launch, and ultimately it was a huge success for selling movie tickets. I thought that was a huge one. Another huge project that recently came out was The Matrix. A lot of people are talking about that right now and starting to buy the NFTs for The Matrix. So I thought that one is also kind of a crossover of the entertainment, and I'm interested to see what they're going to do with that. To talk about the music space a little bit further, Timberland has partnered with the Bored Apes, one of the owners, and basically they are creating a Bored Ape, I think it's called Ape In Productions, which is going to be music for that ape, ultimately an album, etc. So I'm excited to see what they do with that. And additionally, Snoop Dogg is doing something similar with the Bored Apes. Another thing along the lines that I was really excited about is Timberland actually released an NFT. And if you're not familiar with who Timberland is, he's a very famous producer, has won lots of Grammys, ranging from, artists like Aaliyah down to, himself and pretty much a lot of the people that within the industry, Justin Timberlake, etc. He's created their hits. Long story short, he has an NFT platform that you're able to remix his music, which is a really cool idea. I hadn't seen people doing that yet. So the whole concept is basically you buy the NFT and you're able to use the stems from the songs, and the stems are basically the individual audio tracks, and you can create your own remixes of his music, which is fantastic. So I am seeing a lot of exploration in the space. I could go on, but I thought those were some really cool examples to bring up.
Those are awesome. Hi, Terry. You want to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Terry. I never really quite know what to say, how to introduce myself. I have been on Clubhouse for 6 or 7 months. I run a club called Crypto Spaghetti. I also founded a room for the Crypto Pills Project that has been running for the last few months, and I focus on crypto education, NFTs, and interested in cybersecurity.
Awesome. And Terry does such great work on onboarding many, many people into the space. So we love having her help in that way with our community and so many communities on the Clubhouse. It's very important work. And then Chris, you have something to announce, I think.
Yes. Marianne is aware of it. Yeah, the Sci-Fi Art Anthology, which is probably the largest collection of classic sci-fi art, in conjunction with the company, the Crypto Art Agency, we are having our first auction coming up December 8th. And I don't think I can tell you too much about it now because we've kind of been sworn to secrecy, but we're going to get it out to everybody. But it's going to be an auction, and it's going to be a little bit unique because it's going to be an auction on a classic illustration from an H.G. Wells story from, I want to say, 1912 or 1920. And then along with that, we're going to be offering, or the person that wins is going to get a piece of collectible art that has never been published. And it's going to be a canvas piece and it'll be certified and everything. So it'll be a little bit different than a traditional NFT offering, as you will get a unique one off NFT and you'll get a unique one off piece of art.
And it's a piece of sci-fi history, which is really
Yes.
cool. Yeah, I love that. Tell a little bit more about yourself and your background.
Well, I was a film producer for over 20 years, and when I was up in LA, and now I live down in Orange County, and I'm still kind of producing, but thanks to COVID, that industry kind of went away for a while. But I do have a couple other businesses, and this one that I've talked about, the Sci-Fi Art Anthology, is the collection that we picked up when I was a producer, and it's been licensed to cell phone companies, to magazines, to all around the world. And we put up a museum store about a year and a half ago, and that's where it sells merchandise and collectible art. But then we got approached to do the NFTs about 5 months ago. And so now we've kind of moved into that, and we're really, really excited because we think this is very important art. And like Mariana says, it's art that goes back to 1910 up to about 1970, and it's illustrations from books by H.G. Wells, illustrations from top sci-fi pulp magazines, fiction stories throughout the ages. So we think this could be a really, really big splash. And one of the things we say around here is that the only reason they bought CryptoPunks is because they didn't have an opportunity to buy the Sci-Fi Art Anthology.
That's very cute. I think what's really interesting about sci-fi in general, if you follow film and television business, and we're sort of looking at entertainment today a little bit, it is so interesting with Marvel and other comic books and sci-fi books in general, like Dune, etc. There is so much product, so much TV, and so much film product right now being produced in this genre, and it is the most well funded category, as well as I would say most well attended, in theaters as we sort of get back from the pandemic. So having these wonderful pieces of artwork, as everybody's building a metaverse, or everybody's building some sort of an NFT presence, it's very exciting for us because it sort of starts us in the direction of building a larger sci-fi community. And Chris, you can maybe talk a little bit about how you've done that over the years.
Yeah, you're right. And in fact, it's kind of interesting. Just about all entertainment is sci-fi, comic book, type of entertainment, and of course, the community within it is huge. What we've been doing over the years is we have a lot of relationships with sci-fi societies. We were just up last week meeting with the Los Angeles Sci-Fi Society, which that's the one that started, I think, one of the first sci-fi leagues in 1939, and that was Ray Bradbury, Ray Harryhausen, and Forey Ackerman. And yeah, it's grown so big. And in fact, it's kind of interesting. We're kind of going full circle as we're getting into the NFTs now and working with the crypto art agency. We're kind of being approached about, well, have you considered maybe building a movie community around this piece or this collection? Or have you, gaming is another one where people are coming in and saying, wow, why don't we have this attached to a game? Or also, a metaverse, or some type of community that's not even sci-fi, but it's just a part of that community. So we kind of feel like we're in a really good position, because one of the other things that I believe is that when you're talking about NFTs, crypto, all this stuff, 10 years ago this was sci-fi. It was like, and now we're kind of entering it. So the sci-fi people are really conducive. They love this type of stuff, and we think we're going to be able to get this out there and really make a splash.
I'm just going to make one more point about sci-fi, and then we can move on to other topics. Um, Over the years, one of my mentors was Nancy Nyman, who ran Warner Books, publishing, Putnam Penguin West Coast. So some of the largest publishers, on the planet. And she had a chance to meet with both laureates and with sci-fi writers, like Isaac Asimov, Jane Roddenberry, some of the people that she actually chatted with. And she asked all these Nobel Prize winners, right? How did you get your prize, right? How did you get this idea that this particular thing can actually be done? And they all said, we read it in sci-fi books at some point, right? And then she went to the sci-fi authors and she said, well, how did you come up with this idea? And they all said they had visions of it, dreams or visions or sort of projections of what could be. And I always thought that's the most fascinating world, that, all of the technology and everything that we build here, in the clubhouse and with the Infiom boost and all the ventures we're launching somehow have, an origination in some of these sci-fi writings. So that's what's really wonderful, coming full circle to creating this crypto art agency and having the ability to create this ultimate Uber sci-fi club. So I love that.
Yeah, I'm really excited about the space, Chris. So, just a heads up, I did just send you on your direct message Rally, which you might be familiar with. Rally does assets basically for auction, and they have assets anything ranging from Bored Apes NFTs to um, anything and everything you can possibly think of: Spider-Man comics, Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Rolexes, high-end alcohol, and they auction different assets. But they just did a unique sci-fi collection for some cards and some stuff. So feel free to check it out. And if you want to check out the email campaign, I can send that to you as well. I do think this is going to be a huge space, specifically just because the art in general really resonates with the audience. If you look back at some of the most expensive art that has been sold, and I'm talking about more crypto art type NFTs, they are definitely in line with sci-fi um, artwork. Let's put it that way.
That's awesome. Hey, Chris, how are you doing? You want to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. I'm Bitcoin is King, and I basically teach people financial literacy and help them cultivate projects and ideas across blockchains.
Awesome. So the other topic we had in the newsletter is really about venture capital funding in DeFi space, and NFTs. So it seems that venture capital has started to flow this year, particularly in both spaces. And one of the articles looks at 2020 amount of funding into, let's say, DeFi, and 2021, and let's say by the investment since May exceeds 20 million, and the average is increasing. June saw an all-time high of 3.3 billion in funding from the venture capital community. Even when token prices fell in May, financing remained strong at 2.1 billion and has continued through as the entire crypto market remains hot. And if you talk to some of the top tier funds, whether it's A16Z, I was helping a fundraising discussion yesterday. It seems that there's a large percentage of investment being made in DeFi. Sometimes it's a quarter of the fund, maybe quarter in NFTs, another quarter in DAOs, and then a quarter in everything else. Or it's kind of one third, one third, one third. But most of the VCs that are entering the space are investing in those three areas, and sometimes in companies that are really kind of combining all of these areas. The other thing that was really interesting is that that CeFi, the centralized finance, is still raising a lot of money from the VCs. And if you really look at the way that decentralized finance is creating value overnight with minimal amount of employees, and I wish Chris was here today, Chris Kamir. Um, if you're here, raise your hand, because he did these amazing slides that show that something like Coinbase has 1,250 employees, where something like Uniswap has 3 employees, and they're tracking the same amount of revenue, per month in and they developed in a very short period of time. So I feel that decentralized finance is growing, and it's going to be one of the top venture capital investment markets in this next year or two. Even though some of the VCs are, doubling down and putting more money into Coinbases and BlockFi's and other centralized finance plays in this space, I think decentralized finance is creating this removal of friction in our business that's unprecedented, that we will probably never see again in any segment of the market, and it has to do with this decentralized network structure. Anybody has any comments on how quickly this is being actually created?
Well, I think in the news this week, didn't we see in our newsletter that crypto has overshot PayPal in terms of the economy transfer? And I mean, I think that's a pretty major milestone that we're seeing right now.
Yeah, and it's interesting because PayPal is right on top of it, right? One of the hardest thing is like onboarding. And I think Eric talked about it quite a bit last week with, his his token, which is allowing you to onboard by using an app that gives you, incentives basically. Um, the hardest thing in crypto is just to basically buy it. It's very hard to buy, and Terry spends days teaching people how to do this, efficiently, because it's not an efficient market. It is a very challenging market, and without Terry, it could take, weeks, and with Terry, it may take minutes, right? But you need to know Terry to get there, right? So this is the real issue in our space, and the fact that now you can get on PayPal and just buy Bitcoin in seconds, literally they take a lot of fees out of that purchase, but it happens. It's not rejected. It's not kicked back. There's no huge limit on the amount that you can buy. This shows that PayPal is like reading the same sort of statistics that we are seeing. So that's a very good point, Jeanette.
Yeah, the problem with PayPal though is you don't actually own you can't transfer it to a wallet. It's kind of like Robinhood in that you can't you can own it. Well, you can buy it, but you don't have the same freedom that you normally would.
I want you to talk about that. So, it's not just onboarding that's really hard, but it's very challenging to, take that off ramp off of crypto. And can you just discuss that for a moment, Terry? Like, I know eToro is horrible that way, but obviously PayPal is as well.
Well, there's different ways. I mean, there's first you have to learn how to onboard your fiat, your currency, whether it's US dollars or euros or whatever, onto an exchange. And then you need to be able to take those that currency, buy the cryptocurrency that you want, and then you need to be able to safely store it in a wallet. So, I mean, that's a whole conversation in itself about the different exchanges and the different wallets and the different type of wallets. And that really is more of Chris's domain, talking about all the differences between all of those things. But yeah, I mean, there's, people think they can just go to Robinhood because they're familiar with it and they can buy crypto. And you can buy a couple kinds, but you don't actually own it. You kind of own the rights to it, or own like you can't trade it like you normally could. You can't um, take it and move it into a wallet and buy something else with it. You can only sell it, which is a taxable event, or you can hold it. And then if something happens with them, then you don't have it anymore. So it gets a little bit more tricky. Cash App's a little different, I think. Cash App, you can move it around into different wallets. So it's a whole different. I don't know, Chris, if you want to sew into that at all
I
with
mean,
Bitcoin.
not your keys, not your crypto, right? Is really all she's saying. So I think, at least from what I'm hearing, and when it comes to education, we're working on strategies right now to try and make bite-sized pieces of information that give just enough clarity to bring people to new websites, where those websites will have slightly longer videos. Maybe it's a 15-second or 30-second TikTok video that tells one piece of information and invites you to learn more. And then it takes you to a site that's like a link tree, and the extension of that video is maybe 2 or 3 minutes. So this is a way we're trying to disseminate information to larger companies. I can't say their name, but I am going to be helping a project where they have 1 million plus followers, and all of them are they're like artists, collectors, or artists themselves. They're an art community. They have their own website as well. It's a social media platform that's about 3 million plus daily active users, and they want to convert their model and offer new services based off NFT subscriptions and not go down the route of like Patreon or something. So I've actually been working on this, on how to get the education out there. But really, I think people get overwhelmed with what is called FOMO, fear of missing out. And right now, because of how the market exists, it's going to continue growing at very minimum for the next few years. So even if you feel impatient, even if you feel overwhelmed, instead of rushing into something you don't understand or taking unnecessary risks, perhaps ask yourself what makes you want to be in crypto. And this is the best way I've found to help new people get adapted in a stress-free way. If you want to be a creator, then instead of worrying about knowing everything about Ethereum and Solana and other blockchains that are super popular for NFTs right now, perhaps you should just go to OpenSea and assess your potential competition. Perhaps you should join some Discords and watch how those communities act. Come to our not our classes, our daily rooms where we do technical analysis and talk about price action and market nuances. Come to these Infiom rooms and hear other people ask about like their businesses and their strategies and their newcomers. But basically recognize that you're in an environment where a very small subset of people understand it. So every piece of knowledge that you gain and every skill that you craft, that you plan to bring to blockchain at some point, every minute you spend doing that does accrue long-term value. You're just in a short-term mentality because of everyone telling you that you got to get in before it's too late. Well, I promise you, anyone who's telling you that you need to get in before it's too late, they got in late. And they're telling you to get in before it's too late. And in 4 years, we're going to be telling other people to get in before it's too late. So it's one of those things where the overwhelming aspect can make people shut down, and it actually causes issues with learning, and it causes a lot of emotions when you're adopting blockchain technologies. So if you don't feel immediately ready, don't feel unworthy, but instead start acclimating and finding simple, risk-free ways to start developing an idea of what use you might have. Now, what if you just want to be an investor and not a creator? Okay, until you understand the market, until you understand blockchains, you have to take your skills in real life and find a second form of income. And that second form of income, that fiat that you're mining with your skill sets, you use that to make investments, because it's money that isn't going to cost you food. And it's money that, if it grows, would make you very happy. If you lose that money, then you've learned a lesson. The education is worth the cost. So when you really think about getting involved here at a newbie level, yes, I agree with everything that Terry said, but that might overwhelm you. And if that's the case, take a step back, take a deep breath, and think about, what do you know? What can you do? And how might that relate? And then just start preparing yourself for the moment that you are ready, if that makes sense. Sorry for being so long-winded.
No, it makes perfect sense. And part of my role as a professional text explainer is to get people out of that place of panic, because in a place of panic, in a place of fear, as you said, it's a terrible place to learn from. And if we can bring people out of that space and say, look, we're going to take you through step by step. If it takes you a couple weeks or a couple months or whatever to understand the space, that's okay. It's not going away. And there's plenty of opportunities to go around. But I think there is a lot of conversations from bad actors out there that are trying to use panic to get people to jump into things that maybe are not the best.
I have found on Clubhouse that the people who say how much money they've made and brag about, oh, I've made so much money, I've made so much money, I've made so much money, you get in, you're going to get more. Those are the ones you have to watch out for. And those are mostly scam artists. And they'll say, oh, well, I was in Bitcoin and I sold at X. And then I got back in and I sold at X. And I have found that most of those have been scammy. Perhaps that's just me, but I'm Michael. I just wanted to contribute that.
Yeah, it's a good point. If you look at the true, reality of the space we're in, we're still at the beginning. If you look at 2021 venture capital investments, same article from our newsletter, there are plenty of seed rounds compared to Series A this year. So the VCs are, they've told their limiteds they're going to show certain return on investment, and 57% of all rounds this year were seed rounds. This is like, two people with a great idea in a garage. That's what they're funding. They're not even funding Series A. There's no uptake, there's no users, there's no revenue in these deals. This is like a great business model using these decentralized networks and all of these different things we talk about, NFTs, DAOs, and DeFi, to create next generation companies. That tells you the market is in infancy. And you're right, Bitcoin is king. And Terry, you guys are right, because people, I mean, I get overwhelmed. I've been in the space forever. I ran the angel group that invested in the launch of Ethereum. There are things that get overwhelming because there's an amount of information that's thrown at you every day. And if you don't feel like you're processing it fast enough, you feel like you're falling behind. So anybody and everybody gets overwhelmed at some point in time, and that's normal. But that said, we're still at the very beginning, so you have not missed anything yet.
I founded NFT Global Media as a specific solution to this problem. We have found quite frequently that most people who are brand new to the space need complete and total 101 education. They also need voice from the experts, and they need mid level. And in addition to that, they need a solution that we're trying to work on. We're hopefully going to launch it by February or March of next year. That will be a one-click solution. Because I've had countless beginners say to me, "Oh man, I tried using Coinbase. It took me 6.5 hours. I went up, made a little bit of money, tried to do this." And we're trying to create a platform that, in essence, is a one click, one solution. However, when it comes to being decentralized, that's where it gets complicated. And it's interesting because the more information that's out there, the more users that are out there, the more beginners that are out there, the more a requirement for a simple user exchange. Because if you have to do 30 steps, that's what's been limiting crypto basically since the beginning. And I'd love to hear anybody else's feedback.
Frank, you want to introduce yourself and ask your question?
Hello, my name's Frank. I'm from the UK, and I'm basically when it comes to the world of cryptocurrencies, especially new people getting into the space. What I've realized is that people are more likely to take the experience of others maybe from what they're used to consuming. So, for example, YouTube, I found many people getting into the space, consuming the media on YouTube, and finding maybe the wrong people to follow, and falling into the wrong types of projects and losing money. So, but when you actually find good content, um, onboarding into CFI, DeFi, whichever projects becomes a lot more easier, because there is a lot of good content out there, and a lot of that good content is often overlooked by the FOMO. I just wanted to just say that.
Frank, yeah, you want to tell a little bit about your background?
Okay, so I'm actually a mentor and a work coach in the UK. I actually taught myself how to make music years back, and have a software development background. So I kind of fell into the whole cryptocurrency realm around 2015 and never looked back. So it just kind of drew me in, and for a few years I got into the whole world of um, trading cryptocurrencies, and recently into the world of DeFi. So I have learned by losing and actually winning in this industry. So I've lost money and I've made money. So I can see how somebody new coming into the industry can really find it very overwhelming. I'm here really literally to try and make a mark somehow and fit into this industry and find my way. And the networking inside this industry has been amazing. Met some amazing good people here, and I'm just really here just to kind of uh, um, listen and learn and grow. And everything that's been said here in the other rooms that I've been in has been very, very useful. So thank you.
And you're a big purchaser of land in Superworld, right?
I am. I'm a land tycoon.
You know, it's so
So
funny, Frank, today, someone was just texting me as I said that there was a plot of virtual real estate sold in Decentraland for 2.43 million today.
yes, yes, and many. There was actually a yacht that sold. I believe it was yesterday for quite a lot of money there as well, which it kind of opens the doors to this industry, the metaverse being what it really means, an interoperable portal from different platforms, whether it's AR, VR, XR, and I just love to see how things are improving in the space, and especially with regards to virtual real estate and how everything else ties it into it. So there's a lot that I've seen recently, and it seems like the industry is about to take another move upwards.
Yeah, so you're at the right place at the right time, and having advised people on their careers, something that, Chris was talking about earlier about this FOMO. This is really sort of the right time to just be here, learn from many of the people on this panel that, really understand the market, and also to kind of start thinking about how you want to participate in it, because the market is vying for your attention, for your time as a consumer.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm very very grateful to be in this industry. Very very grateful. So it's been a very educational, and every day I'm learning and growing. So it's great.
It's awesome. Kadi, how are you? Would you like to ask a question?
Hi everyone, I'm good. Thank you for hosting this space. I'm kind of here because I've been in the crypto space for about a year now and I've learned a lot and I'm proud of myself for that. But at the end of the day, there's still tons more information to learn about it. So I've been kind of paying attention for a while now to the NFT space and just like the metaverse and things like that. And I was really interested in getting started with it. I got on OpenSea. I set up I connected my wallet and things like that. But I guess I'm not sure where to go from there. Like, in the NFT space, if you buy someone's NFT, that is now your own, and then you can resell it. Or could you guys speak to maybe specifically about making NFTs or buying NFTs? Or yeah, that's basically my question. If you kind of understand what I'm saying or where I'm trying to go with that.
Great question. Terry or Bitcoin is King? Who wants to answer that? Okay, I'll start. So you can basically be in the business of buying and trading NFTs. And Carlos can tell you a little bit more about it because he's done a lot of it. I don't personally do that per se on a daily basis. You can buy NFTs because you want to hold them, and some of them are increasing in value as the market develops. So it's a bit of a more of an long-term investment play, or you can create projects. I mean, Chris has a project with NFTs. Terry, both Chris's have projects with NFTs. So does Terry, where you can actually create your venture in the in the space using NFTs, using DeFi principles, DAOs, etc. So there's a multitude of ways you can participate. You can play to earn games like an Axie Infinity, earn revenue from it and use that to fund, as as Bitcoin is King is saying, fund your investment in the space, maybe invest in some cryptocurrencies and or buy additional NFTs. Frank, you want to answer?
Yeah. With regards to NFTs, Katie, it if you think about the things that you are passionate about, for example, I mean, I like music and art and virtual real estate. Um, what you need to do is look at what is it that you're interested in, or what is it that you're good at, and go in that lane. So if you're interested in music, there may be music NFTs that you can look at. If you're interested in artwork, there may be art that you can look at. If you're interested in digital clothing or digital, um, um, sneakers or anything like that, that you could also look at that. But NFTs can come in so many different uh, um, types, that it's good to just figure out whether you're gonna go for the art or any other type like music or clothing. There's many different ones, so you just have to think about it and then just go and find where which ones you enjoy, which one what you like, and then you can buy and hold, or you can buy and flip them. But yeah, I think start with something you're passionate about so that you don't mind holding it, because if you buy something and it's not something you want to hold, you may just be holding something that you hate, and you may not be able to sell it later. So get something that you actually like.
Okay, that's fair. Are there any like additional resources? Like I've been on YouTube and stuff, but like any books? Like I just recently got off CoinGecko, how to DeFi, for just getting on there every day and checking the market and stuff. So I guess anything specific to NFTs that you would recommend reading or maybe watching or listening to?
Yeah. Connect with me on LinkedIn, Frank Michael. You'll see my picture, and then I'll send you. I'll see if I can send you anything that helps.
And of course,
This
we
might
have to.
sound,
Oh,
sorry.
I was going to say we
This
have to put in a plug for Infiom as well.
Yes.
Stay tuned with us. We send out a lot of information every week. So go ahead.
I was gonna say this is just something really silly and simple to do. There is LinkedIn, basically a certificate that you can get for NFTs. So you just have to go to, I think you have to be signed up for LinkedIn Premium to access their education platform. But I think that there's 3 or 4 courses in there at least that I'm aware of. I took a couple of them. They're okay. I'm not saying that they're the best, but it is a good resource from a professional level just to get a very macro overview, and then you can dive in deeper.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm gonna look into that on LinkedIn. And thank you, Frank. I'll definitely message you on there.
Yeah. And Katie, this is Terry. And again, I nothing against Frank, but we don't know Frank. And Frank, just be like us reaching out to you. So
Oh, I
just be
know Frank.
careful.
I know Frank,
Oh,
Terry.
you know Frank.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. No,
cool.
he's a
It
friend of
scares me
mine.
so
No
much,
worries.
Mariana, because
Yes,
people
yeah.
reach out all the time and it just like I hear these horror stories. But spend time in some of the rooms here on Clubhouse too, the NFT spaces. I mean, it really takes a long time to learn everything that you might want to know about, NFTs. And even when you think you know a bunch, you realize it's very humbling. You realize that you don't know as much as you think you know. So just keep learning. There's some good, YouTube videos out there, and Chris Bitcoin, he's working on some things, and Infiom. I mean, really just try and get as much information from as many different sources as you can.
Yeah, and
And if
in terms of sorry, in terms of NFTs in general, it's not something that you can just read about, take a course and then you know everything there is to know about NFTs. It's like a lifelong learning experience, so if you go to Terry's room or if you go to Bitcoin is King room and you listen to them, they've spent a lot of time in the space, and we've been in the space for a very long time. You can sign up on our website and to get our newsletter, etc. But it's really something that you have to decide for yourself. I'm going to pay attention to this, and you've done a great job. Being on CoinGecko is like 90% of like win win win, because you're actually tracking all the tokens and you're going to the right place, that aggregates the market, and you're not searching on Google, and you're not falling prey to, fake sites and everything else. So anybody on this panel here today, would be a good person to talk to. Anybody in Terry's room or Bitcoin is King rooms is a good person to talk to. But you just have to keep allocating your time and your attention to it, as it changes very quickly and builds on itself very quickly. So you will do well, and you can actually create a great opportunity for yourself, business opportunity, whether it's a secondary job like Chris was talking about, or maybe it is something that you become a trader in the space, which he did before and Terry does it, or maybe, or almost everyone does, about a third of their time. Or maybe you decide you want to create a business, and that's what this is about. The fact that VCs are investing into seed rounds in the largest extent right now, that just shows you that this is the right time to think about all of these opportunities.
Thank you
Yeah.
for that. Yeah, I've been in rooms with Terry before, but they've mainly been in Marquise's rooms. Because I know he had came back to Clubhouse. But yeah, I really haven't been much in a lot of the NFT rooms, so I just followed the club. So thank you guys.
But yeah, like Mariana said, understanding blockchain, so many people are jumping into NFTs without even really realizing that NFTs are a form of cryptocurrency, and or understanding that it's part of the blockchain. So the fact that you have even a little bit of knowledge, you're ahead of everybody else. And we're so early, you guys. This is just the beginning. I mean, look at what's happening with Facebook changing to Meta, and now Jack Dorsey is changing Square to Block. I mean, it, we're at the beginning. It's just like when at the very beginning of the internet. So this is the very beginning.
Yeah, I love that you said that, Terry, because Kathy from Arc Capital just bought a bunch of shares of Twitter yesterday, and Twitter is trying to be sort of a de facto, source for authenticating NFTs, and is kind of rebranding itself as that. It's one of the largest social networks to do this right now. Basically all social networks are just going into this space. That just says something about it, that you want to go into it and you want to learn about it and you want to be strategic about your approach. All right, so let's look at DeFi just really quickly. We talked so much about NFTs. DeFi is the largest category of venture capital investment. It's almost a half of it. In seed stages, about a half of all the investments are in DeFi. In strategic stage, which is right before Series A, maybe three quarters. In Series A, not as large, maybe like a quarter of all the investments were in DeFi. And then there's very little DeFi investments in Series B, C, or D, because DeFi, as you know, has really not taken off until the summer of DeFi, which was 2020. But if you talk to the VCs that are raising funds and starting to invest their funds this year, they would say that that's sort of low hanging fruit. You have very few people, very few employees creating extreme amounts of value, where financial institutions, are doing this with tens of thousands of employees and have all sorts of different, issues with friction inside the marketplaces they're in. These new protocols are basically managing quite a bit of money in very short period of time with very little friction and very, very few employees. So a lot of the venture capital investment is going to be going in this space. So then you tell yourself, okay, I'm not building a fintech company. How should I use DeFi principles with my own startups? And maybe you guys want to comment on some of the ways that you're seeing this being applied. Well, I can start. Staking protocols in many of the play to earn games, where you can earn different types of NFTs as you play the game, but you can also stake these NFTs, and you can then increase the value in the pool by staking the NFTs to then create better gameplay for yourself and or create more value inside games. I believe that almost all play to earn games are going to have some DeFi, at least staking, if not lending protocols and some of these other things that are being developed.
I think that's true, Mariana. And I think another place where this is going to become really important is I think the EULA in many cases is going to go away, the end user license agreement, and be replaced with smart contracts and DAOs, because I think customers and businesses are going to have a much more intertwined, sort of mutually profitable sort of relationship. And I think these smart contracts are going to be a key to how those relationships are managed, who gets what out of the deal, and how bad actors get booted.
Yeah,
I
and
think,
go
oh,
ahead.
sorry. Well, I was going to say, I think that there's no question that there's going to be huge disruptions.
We lost you, Carlos.
Apologies, the call just came in. I was also wanted to mention that a lot of these smart contracts in the future and now are already starting to get programmed with AI. So you better believe that there's going to be a lot of changes as far as efficiencies. So these large teams that Mariana's referencing that are made of 10,000 plus people are not going to be able to compete, with a 10-person programming team, which sounds really insane. But the applications of smart contracts and AI are definitely going to be launching in a lot of different ways that people have no idea exactly how it's going to work out. But that being said, in finance, it's going to be very interesting the way that they continue to use these as pathways to aggregate new ways to ultimately find ROI.
And it's really interesting because, this article from Yahoo Finance breaks down the total venture capital investment in 2021 by, these major categories we're describing. And if you look at the seed rounds, over 60% of seed rounds are in DeFi and NFTs, as these two categories, massively dominating the venture capital investments. And venture capital investments are usually about finding something that has basically hockey stick growth, right? If you look at all the different funds in the market, the venture capital funds have to show that, 10x to 100x return to their investors, where something like a hedge fund or something that's more liquid at the public side of the market does not have the same sort of risk profile. Certainly by the time you get to mutual funds, it's just percentage returns. So in the venture capital fund, you have to find categories of the market that have the most potential. And it was what was so weird that 60% of all the investments in seed rounds this year, and 56% of all the investments were seed rounds, and 60% of those were all DeFi and NFTs. But NFTs also got the most Series E. Series E is almost around before you go public, or instead of going public, you need a little more private capital. And that was the round into Dapper Labs, which is, the firm behind CryptoKitties. So this has been the year of NFTs in the venture capital markets. But if you look at the larger economy, this has been the year of NFTs in the larger economy, as there's no brand and no larger corporation in this market that's not actually trying to redefine the market using NFTs. And if you guys want to say something about that, that would be, some to think what to think about if you're launching your venture, how to partner up with these larger brands.
I think a new aspect that people are starting to explore that's really exciting to me is actually linking their NFTs and considering them the new QR codes. So this is the new kind of way that you would click through ultimately to get to make a purchase in the future. So I think that that's just an exciting trend to look out for.
I think it's also about understanding what is your unique talent, what's your superpower, what's your secret sauce, and not try to be everything to everybody. There's so much territory that needs to be mined here. I mean, it's so much tree cutting we need to do in this space. And if you try to do it all yourself, it's going to be a slow road. So you're really going to be better off finding a big company that has the things that you lack, that are not your secret sauce, and connect up with them, as opposed to, having not invented here syndrome, which happens so often among entrepreneurs.
Yeah, what I love about that, Jeanette, is that, and I think Chris was mentioning this earlier, you have to think about what your core competencies are. So, if you are in this market and you've never launched a marketplace of any kind before, and now you want to be the NFT marketplace, that ship has probably sailed. Like, that may not be a great idea as we sit here today. 3 years ago, when OpenSea was launching, that would have been just a terrific idea, right? And, Superworld was a great idea 3 years ago and kind of created the whole metaverse idea in some ways, right? That's still a great place to be 3 years later. So you have to kind of look at the trends, look at what's happening in the markets, and then look at to your core competencies. So if you're someone who's really knowledgeable about film and television, you should try to do something in film and television with NFTs, with DeFi concepts, and with DAOs. But if you've never produced a film or produced an hour of television, and now you want to create a production company just with NFTs, DeFi, and DAOs, probably not a greatest idea right now, because you will be competing with people who understand these businesses. Yes, you can luck out and create something amazing. That still happens. But we're really at the time where expertise is going to meet these new platforms. So think about, what do you love to do? What do you know how to do? And what does your team that you put together is good at? And try to create a venture surrounding your, what we call core competencies. That is much more investable by the VCs, and they are spending money in the seed round. So you may want to tap into that source of capital. Other sources of capital clearly are crowd based. So you can do, an NFT drop. You can do these token launches depending on what jurisdiction you're located in, etc. But you have to really think about, why would this crowd or this venture capital group invest in me versus in someone else?
I also wanted to mention that one of our listeners, Zag, back channeled me, and we had been talking about resources for learning about NFTs, and he recommended the NFT Handbook on Amazon. That seems to be, it's published by Wiley, which is a very well known technology press, so that would maybe be a good place to take a look.
You said the
Okay.
NFT handbook.
Yes, that's right, the NFT Handbook, and it's published by Wiley.
Thank you.
Wiley.
And Frank, I sent you a message in the back channel.
Awesome. So I want to thank all of you for participating today. Every other Wednesday, we also host a Zoom session. Next one is next Wednesday on December 8th, which is at 12:30. If you go to our website, which Jeanette just posted, which is infiom.com, you can, one, sign up for the newsletter, which will have all of these articles, like this article about VCs right now. You can find it on the website because it's in the last newsletter, and you can see where the VCs are investing. And as you create your own companies, kind of decide what category makes sense for you. You can also sign up for our Zoom events through Eventbrite, also through our website. If you just look at, Infiom Salons, it would take you to the link to sign up for that. On the Clubhouse, you can follow us. It's an Infiom NFTs and DeFi club, and you can be actually alerted of these rooms. We do them for 1 hour every Tuesday, Jeanette manages the room on Ask Me Anything about DeFi, NFTs, and DAOs. And today I manage the room on Create Unicorns with NFTs, DeFi, and DAOs. You're welcome to ask a question at any point during these rooms, as well as on Zoom. And we hope that you can join us next week. And feel free to reach out to us with questions, and we can also point you in the direction of resources. So thank you, everyone on the panel, for being here today, and thank you, everyone, for joining us as a listener. And we hope to see you all next week.